The evening air was soft and warm as people moved quietly through the grand marble lobby of the Whitmore Grand Hotel. The chandelier above shimmered like a sky full of small stars, casting a gentle golden light across the polished floors. Daniel Harper stepped inside slowly. He wore a simple gray shirt and worn blue jeans. His boots carried the dust of a long drive. On his left arm, partly hidden by his sleeve, was a faded tattoo that curled across his shoulder and down toward his elbow. Daniel wasn't used to places like this. Back home in Cedar Ridge, life moved slower. The loudest sound most evenings was the wind through the cottonwood trees or the distant whistle of a freight train rolling through town. But tonight he wasn't thinking about the hotel, or the chandeliers, or the quiet music floating through the lobby. He was thinking about his daughter. 12-year-old Lily was waiting upstairs in a small guest room. She had insisted on coming to the city with him. She said she wanted to see the place where important decisions were made. Daniel had smiled at that. Children had a way of believing the world was bigger and kinder than adults sometimes remembered. And truthfully, he liked that. Near the front of the lobby stood a group of sharply dressed people. At the center was a young blonde woman in an elegant black dress. Her name was Evelyn Whitmore, granddaughter of the hotel's founder and now the company's new billionaire owner. Standing near her were two business associates and several security guards in dark suits. One of those guards noticed Daniel walking closer. The guard's name was Marcus Trent. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing dark sunglasses even indoors. Marcus stepped forward and raised a hand. "Sir," he said firmly. "Guests only beyond this area." Daniel paused politely. "I'm not here to cause trouble," he said in a calm voice. "I just need to speak with Ms. Whitmore for a moment." Marcus looked Daniel up and down. The jeans. The dusty boots. The simple shirt. Then Marcus chuckled. A short, dismissive laugh. "Yeah," he said, shaking his head. "And I suppose you're here to buy the hotel too?" One of the other men nearby smirked. Daniel didn't react. He simply folded his arms gently, the way a man might while waiting for his turn at a small-town diner. "I drove a long way," Daniel said quietly. "Just a few minutes would be enough." Marcus laughed louder this time. "You hear that?" he said to the others. "Another important meeting." Evelyn Whitmore glanced over curiously. She had been reviewing paperwork with her assistant, but now her attention drifted toward the quiet man standing calmly in front of her security team. Something about his expression seemed steady. Not angry. Not embarrassed. Just patient. Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Look, buddy. This is a private meeting. If you've got a delivery, leave it at the desk." Daniel looked at him for a moment. Then he spoke gently. "No delivery." Marcus folded his arms. "Then what exactly are you doing here?" Daniel sighed softly, almost like a father trying to explain something simple. "I came because this place matters to someone I care about." Marcus rolled his eyes. "Yeah? Who's that?" Daniel hesitated for a moment. "My daughter." Some of the people nearby exchanged glances. Marcus smirked again. "That's sweet," he said sarcastically. "But unless your daughter owns half the building, this conversation's over." For a brief moment, the lobby grew quiet. Daniel looked down at his sleeve. Then slowly, calmly, he rolled it upward. The tattoo came into view. Not just a design. It was an old military insignia. Beneath it were small names carefully inked in a circle, the names of men who had served beside him many years ago. Marcus' smile faded slightly. One of the older hotel managers nearby leaned forward, squinting at the tattoo. He suddenly went very still. "Wait," the manager whispered. Marcus frowned. "What?" The manager stepped closer, studying Daniel's arm. Then his eyes widened. "You're Daniel Harper?" Daniel nodded gently. "Yes, sir." The manager let out a quiet breath of disbelief. Marcus looked confused. "Who is that supposed to be?" The manager turned slowly toward Evelyn Whitmore. His voice held deep respect. "Ma'am, that's the man who helped rebuild Cedar Ridge after the flood 15 years ago." Evelyn's eyebrows lifted. "I remember that story," she said softly. The manager nodded. "He refused every payment. Used his own savings. Worked 6 months rebuilding homes for families who had nothing left. Marcus looked back at Daniel, uncertain now. Daniel shrugged modestly. People needed help. Evelyn stepped forward. Her voice was calm but curious. And what does that have to do with this hotel? Daniel lowered his sleeve again. He spoke simply. My daughter read an article about your grandfather. Evelyn tilted her head. My grandfather? Daniel nodded. She said he built this hotel after coming home from the war, because he believed people deserved a place to feel safe and welcome. Evelyn smiled faintly. That's true. Daniel looked around the grand lobby. My daughter said she wanted to see if places like that still exist. A quiet moment passed. The chandelier light shimmered softly above them. Marcus slowly removed his sunglasses. He seemed almost embarrassed now. Daniel continued gently. So I brought her here. Evelyn glanced toward the elevator. She's here now? Daniel nodded. Upstairs reading a book. Marcus rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. I may have misunderstood things. Daniel gave a small, forgiving smile. Happens to all of us. Evelyn studied him thoughtfully. You drove all this way just to show your daughter a hotel? Daniel chuckled softly. Not the hotel. He looked around the room. The idea behind it. There was a warmth in his voice now, the kind that carried years of quiet wisdom. When kids grow up, they remember moments like this. He paused. They remember whether the world felt kind or cold. Evelyn folded her hands gently. My grandfather used to say something similar. Daniel smiled. Sounds like a good man. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Evelyn turned to Marcus. Please bring Mr. Harper's daughter down. Marcus nodded immediately. Yes, ma'am. A few minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Lily Harper stepped out holding a small book against her chest. Her eyes widened when she saw the enormous chandelier. Whoa, she whispered. Daniel waved. Hey kiddo. She hurried over. Dad. This place looks like a castle. Evelyn crouched slightly to meet her eye level. Hi Lily. I'm Evelyn. Lily smiled politely. Nice to meet you. Evelyn gestured around the lobby. What do you think? Lily looked around slowly. It's beautiful. Then she glanced up at her father. But the best part is, people seem nice here. Daniel's eyes softened. Evelyn smiled warmly. I'm glad you think so. Marcus stepped forward awkwardly. Miss Lily. I owe you and your father an apology. Lily blinked. For what? Marcus chuckled. I thought your dad was the wrong man. Lily looked at Daniel, then back at Marcus. My dad's never the wrong man. Daniel laughed quietly. And for a moment, the grand lobby felt less like a luxury hotel and more like a small living room where strangers had simply become people. Later that evening, Daniel and Lily sat by the tall front windows watching the city lights. Lily leaned against her father. Dad? Yeah? I think Grandpa Whitmore would be proud. Daniel nodded slowly. I think so too. Outside, the night carried on like it always does, calm, patient, and full of quiet reminders that kindness often arrives in the most ordinary moments. And sometimes, all it takes to change someone's mind is a man who rolls up his sleeve, not to prove strength, but to show a life lived with heart.